G'day there guys, Markee here, and I keep doing nothing every day, but I keep saying that nothing is impossible. It's crazy, right? Welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's content, sit back, relax, smash that like button, chuck a prawn on the Barbie, and tell me what you think of these episodes down in the comments below. Posted by user Ingenious Babe. Titled, Am I the a-hole for using my mum's religion against her after insulting my son's hair? I, 32 female, was raised Mormon, but I'm not now, nor do I follow any other religion. My mum is still very much in the cult. As such, she has the typical Mormon mindset regarding gender roles and all that bullcrap. Granted, I still think she'd be this way without her religion, though maybe not as bad. We get along splendidly, except when the topic of her religion comes up, which doesn't often. She is visiting right now. I don't see her in person much, but she came down for my birthday. It's also important to note that I have 2 sons. My 5-year-old has a mohawk, my 3-year-old has shaggy shoulder-length hair. He's never had a haircut for a multitude of reasons, none of which would even be asked if he were a girl. Not long after she got here, she started going in on his hair. This is not the first time she's given her opinion on it. Why don't I cut it? Don't I want to prevent him from being bullied? Or from people thinking he's a girl? Well, mate, because he hasn't asked, and I wanted it to be his choice. Because he acts like I'm murdering him when I brush his teeth and hair. Because he also flails around like he's having an exorcism, so imagine that with a pair of scissors. Because if someone sees long hair and assumes girl, that's on them, and a simple he's a boy corrects it. But mostly, it's because I don't fudging want to. She got ticked and said what she really thought, which was, well, I just don't like long hair on boys. Yeah, clearly. Yet she has no problem with my other son's mohawk. Guess that's boyish enough for her. And she said it in front of both of my sons, which ticked me off. I said the first thing which came to my head, which was, if you have a problem with long hair on boys, I suggest you take it up with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You can start by asking him to get a haircut. Call John the barber. Bruh, if looks could kill, I'd be in outer darkness right now. She's steeped in her anger for a while, but didn't say anything else. She hasn't changed her opinion, nor will she, but I don't think she wants to get roasted again either, so she won't bring it up anymore. I feel like we're both a-holes. As much as I hate her religion, that was also a low blow, and I have a tendency to speak first, regret later. Though I don't necessarily regret my words, I do regret how they made her feel. She's my mum after all. Update, oh my heavenly Father, I didn't expect this at all. Thank you for the rewards and honest responses. I'm glad I could make so many of you laugh. I'm here all night. Seriously though, working until 7 AM and gonna waste it all reading comments. See you all in the Celestial Kingdom. It's hard to think of OP as the a-hole when, does criticism, does you giving feedback on someone's bad behavior make you an a-hole? I don't exactly think that they were stooping to the level here, but I guess you could deem the comments as childish and just as a poor attack back at the mother, but if it were you in the situation, you'd risk being an a-hole just so that you'd stop someone from telling you how to parent your kids. I'm sure most people would. So if this person is an a-hole in this situation, I feel like it was justified, so yeah. But in my opinion, I don't think OP is the a-hole, so not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. A good, well-timed diss is all. You didn't insult her religion or her belief in it. So far as I can tell, she's being a little sensitive, and that's fine too. I don't see the insult to religion. I'm not very familiar with the Book of Mormon, but I don't think there's a commandment to have short hair, is there? I have been going to a Mormon church for about a year now, and the closest thing I've found is in my For the Strength of Youth booklet. That's about dress and appearance. In this it says, young men and women should be neat and clean and avoid being extreme or inappropriately casual in clothing, hairstyle, and behavior. But things are evolving and becoming more accepted. A friend of mine in the church has multiple piercings, and another line in the same book says, Do not disfigure yourself with tattoos or body piercings. Young women, if you desire to have your ears pierced, wear only one pair of earrings. She has a nose piercing, multiple ear piercings, and is planning on getting another eventually. People always comment saying how cool it looks and never make rude comments. I think the mother personally just doesn't like it and is using religion as an excuse to say these things, because I've yet to meet a single Mormon who would say something like that. I'm sure there are Mormons out there who are like that, but I've yet to meet any. OP is not the a-hole. Not sure where you live, but growing up Mormon, I had a very different experience. If our hair got over our ears, our bishop would tell us that we needed to get a haircut before we could pass, prepare, and bless the sacrament. We weren't allowed in the youth dances with hair past our ears either, and definitely not more than one piercing for the girls. Posted by user throwaway80013449, titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend to pay for a new prosthesis? I, male 24, had an auto accident over 2 years ago that resulted in a left leg knee amputation. I thought that would have been the end of my active lifestyle. I loved all kinds of sports as a kid, and I still do. I had a very hard time adjusting to my new normal. My parents were able to get me a prosthetic leg that allowed me to get back to running and going trips with my friends like we always do every summer. The guys were planning an RV trip on the weekend. We had already chosen a destination, which was spending some time out in nature and getting away from stress. My girlfriend asked if she could come along. I told her no, this is a guy's trip. Told all of my buddies' girlfriends wanting to go, but they were firm and put their foot down too. She laughed at me for this, then tried to convince me to let her come because she was feeling stressed out from being at home 24/7. I already made up my mind. I wasn't going to ruin the trip just because she wanted to be on a guy's trip. I promised her a trip when I get back. She got upset and didn't like the idea. Later on, before I went to sleep, I took my prosthesis off, as I do every night. This is my second prosthesis. I've already completed a wearing schedule during the first year and had to get another prosthesis to accommodate any physical changes that I had. I woke up in the morning and I couldn't find it. I looked where I put it, but it was gone. I asked my girlfriend who was doing heavy cleaning around the place, and she said she didn't see it. I was confused. It was near my bed. I asked her to stop being childish and playing games and give back my prosthesis because I knew she took it. She's a bad liar and couldn't even deny it. She said she wanted to hide it so I won't go on that trip and leave her alone. I got mad at her for this. I was stunned to find my prosthesis hidden underneath an auto part in the garage. It had been damaged. It was placed in a possession where it had a crack. It was obvious it no longer functions properly. I mean, I could still wear it, but I can't put my whole body weight on it because it would break. I yelled at her and showed her what she did. She said she didn't mean it. I told her she did mean it because she was being childish and jealous over a trip, and now she caused me $7,000 worth of damage. I told her she ruined everything, that she owed me a new one, and that she needed to pay me for a new one. She got mad and left. I basically had to use my old crutches, and it felt absolutely horrible. I called the guys and told them I wasn't coming. It's been a few days. She's still mad that I'm still asking her to pay for a new prosthesis, and called me an a-hole for not apologizing and preferring a plastic leg over her. I had to call my parents today to tell them. They told me she should at least help pay half the expenses of a new prosthesis since she caused damage to it, and then consider my relationship with her. Have I been an a-hole to her? Edit, for those asking about where I am, I'm in Asia from the Philippines. I don't think you're an a-hole for that. I think that was a disgustingly dirty trick that she's played on you here. She's done a lot more damage than she realizes, and now she's in denial about it. And it's up to you how you want to deal with this situation. Because $7,000 worth of damage, that is a lot. That is a huge dent in the bank account. And as we hear a lot in these posts, when someone shows you their true self, you believe them. And I believe you should believe her in this instance and do something about this situation, OP. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She is being extremely controlling, and refusing to pay for something she broke is a huge red flag. You have been way nicer to her about this than I would be. She should be begging forgiveness, not accusing you of being an a-hole. Not only that, she tried to guilt me and shame me for calling her to tell her that, instead of apologizing to her for calling her names. Not the a-hole, dude. Sue her for damaging your property and putting you at risk. WTF? This is not only abusive, but so fudging low that I can't even begin to wrap my head around it. This is demented. Not the a-hole. She needs to pay for it in full, and you need to take your parents' advice and really re-examine this relationship. She degraded you, disrespected you, and screwed with a medical device in her attempt to control you. This is so fudging far from okay, and the biggest, brightest red flag that I have seen in a long time. She needs to pay for the prosthesis in full, and any money lost for not being able to go on the trip. I cannot fathom her thought process. Insane, and OP, you need to dump her ass. Take her to court if you have to. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. What the absolute hell is wrong with her? She took your leg. She took your fudging leg so you wouldn't leave her for 2 days. Just a single weekend with your buddies. Even when you told her you'd have one with her, alone, but later. In my eyes, what she did is unforgivable. By doing what she did, she damaged your quality of life because you wouldn't give in to her demands. She has to pay for the damage she's done, and I encourage you to reassess your relationship with her seriously. Posted by user AmiTheA Happy Mom. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not punishing my daughter for cursing and telling my husband my decision is final and he doesn't get a say this time? This is going to be one of the most silliest posts, but here we go. I have a 9, almost 10-year-old daughter who got her first period recently. It was kind of a shock to see her get one so early. I never had the menstruation talk with her, and we sat down for it. I didn't even get to say much. I just said that it's a natural process and that it's going to happen every month for the next 40 years. And she yelled, "F this crap," and went to her room. I have never heard her curse before, and frankly, given the context, I found it hilarious. I mean, I can't even blame her for having that reaction. My husband heard it and thinks she's too young to curse, and we must punish her. I told him he doesn't understand and that it's okay to give her a pass this time. He kept pushing, and I just snapped and told him that we aren't punishing her for this, and he doesn't get a say because he doesn't understand, and that's final. If anything, me and my husband are to be blamed for not preparing her. I can't even imagine how scared she must have been when she saw all that blood with no context. And now I am telling her that it's going to happen monthly for decades? Who wouldn't have that reaction? He mumbled and grumbled but let it go. He definitely thinks that I'm being lenient and irritated because it's his daughter too, and I shouldn't have said that he doesn't get a say. Am I the a-hole? To be fair, I'd be very taken aback if I was OP, but I don't think I'd have the same reaction that this husband had. You know, that's a very young age to be getting a period. Understandably, you would be very confused at the time also, not having any context beforehand to be like, what is going on here? Am I dying? Jeez. And I'm sure a lot of ladies listening to this can actually empathize with her. It's not something you want to go through personally. At least, that's what I've heard, that's my male perspective on things, so take it with a grain of salt. If I were the kid, I would have the same reaction. I think it'd be stupid to punish her for saying that. That's like the one-time pass you can have for this situation. So OP, not the a-hole, slap the husband, bring him back to reality. What are you doing there, buddy? Not the a-hole. While I wouldn't normally condone swearing in kids this young, and am perfectly okay with parents banning swearing altogether, she had a bloody good reason this time. Pun not intended. Seriously, her response is all of us. If you're old enough for a period, you're old enough to say it's bullcrap, lol. Not the a-hole. Yeah, it's not cool for a 9-year-old to swear, but it was in her own home, not at someone, and a reasonable reaction to something dramatic. Not every misdeed needs to be punished. That's how zero tolerance has this whole country messed up. A simple, hey, I know you're outraged and shocked, but let's keep the cursing to ourselves, handles things just fine. Really though? I don't think it's really all that bad for 9-year-olds to say an occasional discreet swear among friends. I tell my kid to save their swears so they'll stay charged for when you need them. OP's kid picked just the right time. That's a great trick. Does it actually work on them? So far so good. Although when he was 3, my eldest got mad at his toy and slammed it on the floor repeatedly yelling, "Ah, F, F!" But if anything, they are very prudish about my accidentally swearing within earshot. I was telling them we need a reverse swear jar, where I get a jelly bean every time I hold in a swear. It would be a festival of jelly beans. My youngest started talking very clearly very early, like 10 months old, and her first swear word was a well-timed, "God damn it!" when she dropped her sippy cup when she was 1 year old. I was a little proud she got the context right. I was less thrilled that she said it in front of her very Catholic great-grandmother. Oh no! Similar situation. According to my grandmother, my mum, age 3, slipped off the kneeler during Mass and exclaimed, "God damn it!" into the silent church. My grandmother says there's never a hole to swallow you when you need one. Posted by user Throwaway Am I the A-hole 1583. Titled, Am I the A-hole for refusing to financially help my family after they abandoned me, even if it means they'll end up homeless? I feel like this is such a cliche Reddit story, but I'm really struggling with what to do here, so... I am my mother's oldest biological child. When I was 5, my father passed away, and she remarried my stepdad when I was 8. When I was 9, I was sent away to live with my father's sister, who lived states away because her husband didn't want me to live there anymore. They used to pay my aunt some money to watch me, but when I was 14, that stopped. My aunt and uncle worked low-paying jobs and had 2 of their own children, so they really couldn't afford the extra expense of having me around without that help. Despite that, they let me stay and continued to treat me like one of their own. I very rarely saw my mum. I think I saw her 5 times between 9 and 18. She never even called. She went on to have 3 more children, 19 male, 18 female, and 16 male, with my stepdad. Growing up, I used to stalk my siblings and parents on social media to see what their life was like, and it was the polar opposite of mine. They regularly went on expensive vacations, lived in a massive house, and owned the latest gadgets, etc. I went to college and got married at 23. My mother and siblings have no idea I'm married. I'm currently 28 and doing well financially. My husband and I own our own home, we have several very profitable investments, and work high-paying jobs. My cousins, 30 female and 27 female, and I all contributed to help my aunt and uncle to finally purchase their own home last year. Recently, my mum showed up to my aunt's house begging for financial help. Apparently, my stepdad suffered from a gambling addiction a few years ago and lost all their savings. Now with the pandemic, he's lost his job and they can't afford to keep their house without help. My aunt explained she didn't have any money to help her, and when my mother demanded to know how she could afford her new house if she had no money, she explained what me and my cousins had done. My mother then asked for my number. When she called me and explained the situation, I told her I couldn't help. She kept begging me and claimed my siblings would be made homeless if I didn't help them. I told her maybe she should sell some of their fancy stuff, or they could all get jobs like my cousins and I had to. I hung up before she could reply. Since then, I've been receiving message after message from my mum, my siblings, and even my stepdad begging me for help. I have never spoken to my siblings in my life. They've begun harassing my husband and my sister-in-law. They've also reached out to my aunt and cousins multiple times, trying to get them to convince me to change my mind. I'm so angry with them all. They threw me away, and when they need something, they come crawling back? But the guilt is also starting to set in, and I don't know if I'm being an a-hole. Am I? Refusing to help a family that abandoned you basically as a child? is not an a-hole thing to do. I know a lot of people have a concept in their mind that these types of families you've still got to help regardless because they're your own flesh and blood. But I'd like to think that there is justice in the world and people think logically in this situation and they realize, hey, it's the stepdad that got them into this mess. And then instead of saving themselves, they let him drag them down to the depths of the ocean with him to go chill with the Titanic, you know? This isn't OP's problem to solve. OP should probably call the police on them, get a restraining order, get them to leave OP the hell alone, whatever it takes. Whatever floats your boat that's not at the bottom of the ocean. OP, not the a-hole. These people are not your family. You owe them absolutely nothing. It's time to block and consider threatening legal action for harassment. So true. If I were you, I'd consider asking my aunt and uncle to adopt me just to drive home the truth of who really is my family. That would be a great idea, but is that still possible at 28? I think there's something called adult adoption, but I don't really know how it works legally, or if it exists where OP lives. Adult adoption is a thing in many states in the US, and it's actually worth OP's time looking into these circumstances. Depending on where OP is, particularly if OP is a UPC state, it can affect inheritance. So let's say OP and dear husband pass away at the same time. For example, car accident, with no kids. Depending on where they are, if they pass without a will, their assets could be split between OP's biological mother and her husband's parents. Given this story, I'm not sure OP would want that. So, a bunch of strangers and a woman you knew when you were a child are begging you for money? Screw them. Not the a-hole. If they didn't think you were the easiest means to recover their lifestyle, you would have never heard from them. Exactly. OP, would you feel guilty if some random person was texting you and harassing you to give them money? Wouldn't you block that stranger? Well, this is basically the same thing. They had no need of you when you were little. They tossed you away like you meant nothing. Because to them, you didn't. They only ever came back into your life, not because they were racked with guilt, not because they wanted to make it up to you and try to be a family, but because they want your money. Screw those people. Like you said, let their children get jobs to help out. Let that woman and her husband work doubles and triples to finance their life. You owe them absolutely nothing, so do not second guess yourself. Okay, and I think that's where we're going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something from these stories. Just want to say a quick shout out to my Patreon subscribers and my channel members. You guys should be on the screen right now. If you do see yourself, I want you to give yourself a little pat on the back for being amazing and supporting me on this channel, this little journey we're going on the YouTubes. I really appreciate it, and you guys enabled me to do all this amazing work. So if you do see yourself, I love your face and I'm happy to see you. Also guys, if you want to pitch in your own support, you don't have to, but channel links are down in the description below to support the Patreon, the channel membership, whatever you want to do. It's kind of like tipping me if you feel like I'm doing a good job on this channel. I will be opening up avenues for content on those in the future. Just right now I'm kind of bogged down and stuck in Ireland, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway guys, with that said, I do hope you have a wonderful day today. Whatever you're up to, I'd love to know down in the comments below. I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep. Whatever you're up to today, tell me, and I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.